Naming conventions on the Underground are strange. The Central Line passes through central London, but so does every other tube line. The Northern Line isn't the most northerly line, but it is the one that goes furthest south. There are historical reasons for both of these, which are outside the scope of this video, but it's still confusing. And then you have the Circle Line, which isn't a circle. It forms a loop, but then there's this odd little branch that leads off to Hammersmith. This is actually a relatively recent addition to the map. Prior to 2009, the Circle Line was actually a circle, or at least a loop. Obviously I'm going to get people in the comments section saying what shape they think it actually was, but the point I'm making is that it was a continuous run with no clear start or finish. The line was originally built as a sort of joint venture between the Metropolitan Railway and the Metropolitan District Railway, now the Metropolitan and District lines respectively. The process of actually getting it built was pretty insane, and I'll link to the video I made on this madness in the description below. The idea was that it would connect most of the mainline railway termini north of the river. The continuous nature of the line gave it a unique place in London culture. There was the infamous Circle Line pub crawl, where you have a drink at every station along the line. There was the urban legend of the corpse on the tube that just goes round and round without anyone spotting anything strange about the sleeping passenger until the end of the day. There were parties held in the ever-circling tube carriages until the ban on alcohol on public transport under then-Mayor Boris Johnson put paid to them, the spoilsport. And then, in December 2009, it all changed. But why? Well, while a circular route offers some advantages in terms of connectivity, it can be a bit of a headache, operationally speaking. So you might have noticed that at the end of most tube lines, the train tends to hang around for a bit before setting out again. One reason for this is to give the timetable some breathing space. If a train is scheduled to wait 15 minutes at Wimbledon, but it gets delayed by 5 minutes at Blackfriars, that's no biggie. Just knock 5 minutes off the waiting time at Wimbledon, and the train still leaves on time. The Circle Line, though, had no terminus. If a train was delayed by 5 minutes, it would still be 5 minutes late for the rest of the day. This, in turn, would hold up the train behind it, and so on. To make matters worse, there's the fact that the Circle track is shared with other lines. It's a bit of a body snatcher, namely the Metropolitan, District and Hammersmith and City lines. It's an intensely worked route, so if there are delays on the Circle, then that's 4 lines potentially affected. Letting the Circle run out to Hammersmith would give it a terminus and, as a bonus, increase the frequency of trains on the Hammersmith and City line. On the subject of frequency, another issue was the fact that you couldn't remove trains from the line easily. This meant they had to run the same number of trains off-peak as they did at rush hour and staff them accordingly, a wasteful practice. There were plenty of high-ups over the years who questioned why we even needed a Circle Line if running it was such a hassle. Frank Pick himself, the vice-chairman of London Transport, was in favour of scrapping it altogether. The County of London Plan of 1943, which I'm going to talk about in a future video, would have divided it into northern and southern halves and added more track. But it remained. Bob Kiley, the first Commissioner of Transport for London, took the reins in 2001 and planned an upgrade of the subsurface lines, that is, the aforementioned District, Metropolitan, Hammersmith and City and Circle lines. Plans were in place to construct the Westfield Shopping Centre at Shepherd's Bush, or is it Wood Lane? It's very big. And to build a new Wood Lane tube station to serve it, which would necessitate more trains, and introduce the possibility of more confusion. As part of Kiley's upgrades, the idea of turning the Circle Line into more of a spiral shape was mooted. And so that's what happened. Not everybody was happy about the change. In 2010, the UK Independence Party even went so far as to pledge to return the Circle Line to its original shape if elected. The idea was that they would build new avoiding lines at junctions so trains from other lines wouldn't have to wait for Circle Line trains to pass. In 2012, The Guardian published an article asking for the old circle to be reinstated, although their reasoning didn't seem to take the old problems much into account, or offer any solutions. Nevertheless, passengers have, on the whole, adapted quite well to the change, even if it is a pain in the backside trying to figure Edgware Road out. Of course, there's still the issue of the name. It's not a circle. Should it still be called the Circle Line? How about the Spiral Line? The Frying Pan? The Tennis Racket? Or is it doomed to remain, like the Northern Line and the Central, just one of those historical naming curiosities? Hi all, I hope you enjoyed this well-rounded episode of Tales from the Tube. If you did, then please do hit like, and if you want more, then consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell to be kept up to date with whatever I'm doing. What's your opinion on the uncircled circle line? Did you prefer it before? Do you prefer it now? Or are you not particularly bothered? Should we even call it the Circle Line? Let me know in the comments. And I'll see you again very soon for another Tale from the Tube.